Saturday night. Here's a bit of a background. My wife's parents got divorced when she was in her late teens. Her dad verbally and mentally abused her mom, and her mom eventually had an affair. When my wife's dad found out about the affair, he brought fire to her, telling all of her friends, etc. Even worse, he got his kids, my wife and her brother, involved by telling them their mom is a bad person. My wife has told me years ago it was very dreadful, and she wanted her mom to just leave because it got so crazy around the house. The divorce process ended up pretty ugly and her parents have not spoken to one another for the last 20 plus years. Today, her mom is still with the other man after 20 plus years. My wife and I have been married for 8 years now with 2 kids, 7-year-old and 5-year-old. About 2 years ago, we agreed that she quit her job to focus more on the family, school drop-off, pick-up, house chores, cooking, and to allow me to focus on my career. Over the last 2 years, I felt that she got bored quite often. Aside from picking up kids, taking them to sports practices, laundry, running errands, it didn't seem like she had a hobby of her own or anything for herself. In other words, in hindsight, I think she was a ticking time bomb. We talked about this for the last couple of years for her to find a hobby, but she said nothing really interests her. She just turned 40-year-old back in June of this year. Up until mid-July, I thought everything was fine. We would still do date nights once a month. She would be affectionate at times. We would still be holding hands quite often. However, we both knew there were some issues. We didn't talk much aside from convos about the kids, and we didn't do many things together outside of family activities. And she also complained that I focus too much on work and don't give her very much attention. Our physical lives for years were never that great. 90% of the time I'm the one initiating. Also, for many times she would just allow me to start it reluctantly, but most times she would get into it after we start. Nonetheless, it was never ideal where I wanted it more frequently than she wanted. Around mid-July, she started acting a bit colder around me. I would give her goodbye kisses and she would turn her head a bit. Or if I went near her, she would move away. With phone, I didn't think too much of that since she was obsessed with Facebook and Candy Crush for nearly a year. Again, in hindsight, I should have known. So, in early August and after a few weeks of feeling something strange, I felt it was time I talked to her. I simply asked her, "Are you happy?" She paused and then started crying pretty hard. Said she has been unhappy for nearly 1 to 2 years now. That I never prioritized my family first, versus work. That she and I don't have this connection or on the same page. She also started saying that she doesn't have a life, no interests, no job skills, after quitting work 2 years ago. And all she does is for the kids. She suggested that we give each other space, that she wants to move out and give us time. I thought about the kids and knew the kids would end up spending more time with her during my workday, so I offered to move out instead. I wanted to minimize disruption to our kids' lives. She wanted no part in therapy because she said it does nothing. She even mocked it, saying she went to therapy when her parents got a divorce and provided no value. Said she just wants space, and perhaps in the future we could do therapy when she's ready. So, in less than 1 month after being completely caught off guard that it was this bad for her, I had moved out in early September. Again, I always knew we had some issues, but not to this extent where she was unwilling to work on us or do any type of therapy for us. It has been hell living in a foreign apartment for the last 2 months, and only seeing my kids half the time. Also, for about 1 month after I had moved out, we still hung out quite frequently as a family, and I still love her, so it was very difficult being in the presence of somebody you want to be with but that she didn't want to be with me. She tells me all the time what an amazing person I am, I deserve better, etc. Basically, I love you but I'm not in love with you speech. Anyhow, about 1 month ago I found that she had some lab tests done. I later discovered it was for STD tests. The test results did come out clean. So I confronted her and asked her if she had interactions with somebody else. She denied it on first ask. Then I asked her again and said I need her to be truthful. She then admitted everything. That she started talking to a 25-year-old coach in July that she met through my son's basketball camp. She said it started off just texting as friends, but she later needed to sleep together to find out if that was what was missing in her life. She claimed that it happened only once in August or September and that she is not romantically in love with him, as it could have easily been somebody else, as she needed to find out if she was missing lust, excitement. She also said it was a huge mistake and that she's been going through miserable hell, feeling guilty for the whole thing. She said she has cut off ties with him even before I had confronted her. I went back and verified phone records and it seems that she is telling the truth. Many text exchanges with this guy in July and very few in August. September, with the last exchanges being about 3 weeks prior to me confronting her. I demanded that she stop contacting him and we will never be going back to that basketball camp ever again. She agreed and acknowledged that she had already removed him on FB and asked that they don't contact each other anymore even before I confronted her. The story, timing seems to hold true. I really needed to talk to somebody about this, but being the nice guy that I am, I didn't want to ruin her reputation among our friends by talking to them, especially if we were to get back together. I was in complete pain. She suggested that I talk to her brother since her brother is very close to her and of course being siblings will always accept her, even for the mistakes. I talked to her brother and her brother was extremely disappointed in her. I know my wife highly respects her brother, so the fact that he knows now, I would imagine she would never do it again to disappoint him. She almost looks up to him as father figure since her real dad was never a good dad and her bro took care of her as they grew up. To this day, she still says she is not ready to work on us, our marriage. She still refuses to go to couples therapy, says she is not ready. Based on recent phone records and some spying on her laptop, it seems she really has cut off ties with this guy since mid-September but still doesn't want to work on our marriage. I feel like I'm definitely trapped in the I love you but I'm not in love with you zone. Anyhow, I'd like some advice on the following. Not sure if it's relevant, but is this midlife crisis? Turning 40, questioning self-identity, self-worth, looking at younger men, etc. But if it is midlife crisis, should it be handled differently than general infidelity? As perhaps she's sick in the head and is completely irrational right now, given that she is unwilling to work on us right now and refuses to go to counseling. Although she says she constantly thinks about us in debating whether we should reconcile and if I'm right for her. Should I just ignore her and move forward with a divorce? She says that this whole exposure of the affair is actually more harming to our reconciliation, which I agree, because she doesn't want to live the rest of her life feeling guilt with me, feeling she needs to make things up for me, etc. Any thoughts on this too? I love her still, as much as I'm angry at her for putting me through this pain, having me move out, affair, etc. But I'm starting to have doubts about getting back with her because of her character itself. Outside of the affair even. The thing is, she's very attractive even at 40-year-old, looking like a 28-year-old, and she is such a great mother that I always feel warm when we're together as a family. What do I do? Let time do its thing, but in the meantime just work on myself? Or should I just not bother with any of this since recovery and reconciliation is nearly impossible, and it would end up in a divorce inevitably? There are still some burning questions about the affair that I want to know, but she has a short temper generally and says she doesn't want to talk about it, that it was a huge mistake and that she doesn't want to rehash all of that ever again, especially how painful it was that she is doing exactly what her mom did years ago. She also says that she herself doesn't understand why she did that at all. Although I have these burning questions, should I just drop it all, or does psychology say she needs to address them to me or I'll never get over it? During this time, I've always been in great shape at 37-year-old, although I've lost a lot of hair, so I shave my head bald for years now. But more recently, I've changed my wardrobe to dress nicer, started doing fun things with coworkers, continue working out as I always have, and basically just looking after myself. I'm also focused on my kids, making sure they are happy, and thank goodness they seem to be acting normal as my wife and I promised that we would not argue, discuss, or have them pick sides. The kids deserve a childhood full of fun and learning, and they don't need this crap. Nonetheless, I miss my wife that was there pre-July. Today, she and I still have a friendly relationship. We don't hang out very much anymore except for common kids activities and our Sunday night family dinners that we agreed to do. But aside from that, we're nice to each other with some casual conversation throughout the day, but nothing more. I was going to give her that space until the end of the year, and if by early January she doesn't initiate conversation for MC, then the ultimatum will be there. I think me moving out since Sep through the end of this year is enough time for her to figure out if she's in or not. And if she's not by early Jan, she's gone, and there is no reason to hold on to something that's not there. I know I can stand by that ultimatum then. When we first had our conversation about her wanting to move out, she said the same thing. Is this all there is to life? She also said that perhaps she and I could live as roommates for the rest of our lives, and she'll be fine, but it wouldn't be fair for either of us. We are practically divorced as is, splitting time with kids, living separately, etc. The only thing is that she still has it good. In terms of finances though, yes, she doesn't work but has the luxury of rental income from her dad's property, which contributes about 1/3 of our total household income. Truth is, even if we got a divorce, it'll likely be that she won't be hit that hard financially, since courts will likely force me to give her an amount so that our incomes are equivalent. I think that's how it works. The shock, though, will be more symbolic than financial. Me calling it quits and not be her safety net. I think that's how it plays out. I do believe that we can mediate on our own. I also understand people start acting irrationally once the process begins. I'm confident this won't be our scenario. and I'm a believer that divorce attorneys are the scummiest and will take the majority of the assets from us. She has worked throughout our entire marriage up until 2 years ago. Also, our total assets, savings is likely about 50-50 as she had lots of stock options that contributed to our house. I genuinely think it'll end up being a 50-50 split. Since I moved out, she started doing things more for herself, be it working out and being healthy, or perhaps just to look good to get other dudes, and she will be going back to school to start a new career next week. I'm glad that she is doing things for herself. I don't know, I really think she got bored and needs something for herself as well in order for any hope of reconciliation. My feeling is that she needs to be happy with herself before she can be happy with anybody else. Why do I want reconciliation, as you may ask? I think it's the warmth of the experiences that we've had as a family. Although some part of me recognizes she is not that same person anymore and has died when she committed adultery. Personally, I'm just the nice guy, and I understand nice guys finish last. I'm also in the middle of reading No More Nice Guy. I just value history and tend to be very loyal to everybody close to me, even friends that have changed over the years. I know I'm a sucker for that, but that's just how I've been and recognize I need to change. For the last few weeks, I've prioritized my kids over my work, updated my wardrobe, stopped wearing my wedding band, started being more open and social with folks, reached out to old friends, started attending classes for personal development and interest, and in some ways, I generally feel a bit more detached to her than say 2 weeks ago. Nonetheless, I'll be honest and say I still love her very dearly. Here is a question I asked myself over the last few weeks. I am very attracted to her as I think she's beautiful. I asked myself, given her personality, what she has done to me with all this pain. And imagine if she wasn't as attractive, would I still be with her today? The truth is that it's unlikely. I would have dropped her already. Sad, but I just wanted to keep that part real as well. Here's my and my best friend's argument against humiliation. If I do want reconciliation, how does humiliation help? I would think that she wouldn't want to reconcile if it's publicly exposed, as she would be concerned about being judged by our friends when we're together. However, yes, if it's clear she does not want reconciliation and doesn't even fight for us to even try reconciliation, then yes, I see no reason to hold back and would expose her to all those around us. I would think by exposing her to our friends and all, that would more likely drive her away from even wanting to try reconciliation. No, I put myself in her shoes. If I had cheated and was on the fence about reconciliation and she told all of our friends, I think I would be too humiliated around my friends to want to get back with her. The guilt and the fear of how my friends would constantly view me when I'm back together with her during reconciliation. In other words, I think opening up would cause more harm than good for our update. Quick summary of my situation. I moved out as she said she needed space. Wife cheated, I discovered. Evidence leads me to believe and confirm she had cut it off before confrontation. But wife was still not willing to go to counseling or work on our marriage. That said, since last week, I started the 180. Started speaking to her much less unless I needed to for the kids. Showed no interest in her life. Moved on with my own life by keeping myself busy with old friends, new hobbies, etc. Last night, I went over to our house and told her I'm filing for a divorce. She started an outrage about the fact that it's been only 3 months since I moved out. Thinks I have met somebody. Yelled at me for being cold to her the last 2 weeks. Not wanting to talk to her. Or even sit next to her. Etc. Seems that 180 worked. Anyhow, I told her she has a choice. We either are fully committed to working on saving our family, which means being 100% committed to counseling, being 100% committed to talking through our issues, and me moving back into the house. Or we tell all our parents next week at Thanksgiving that we're going through a divorce. And let's just do the divorce. That also means us selling the house and she needs to move out. Her reaction. She flipped out again, saying it's only been 3 months and that working on us isn't a priority as she has school that just started on Monday of this week. And said she is focused on that and our kids. I told her, well, it's your choice what you want to do. This morning at 4 a.m., I get a text from her saying, okay, I will go to counseling and try, but I don't want to start until next since I just started school yesterday. Is that okay? Is there any harm in going to counseling if we're going through it? And if I myself don't feel there is any effort on her part, or if there is no improvement over several sessions, then at that point, at least I know we can call it quits. Fortunately, my employer pays for almost all of therapy sessions, so there is minimal money from my own pocket. Meanwhile, I continue focusing on myself as well with new hobbies, etc. To be honest, since invoking the 180, I've started to detach myself from her a bit more, relative to 2 weeks ago or prior. Nonetheless, I still love her very much, but I'm slowly starting to see more and more how she is not the person I viewed her to be. I'll let her actions speak for itself over the next days, weeks, and yes, fully agree that she is still trying to dictate the terms of any effort for our. I understand this can't happen. I've started exposing this to some of our closer friends and have told her I've done this. She seems to be very ashamed and wonders how to handle dealing with them. I didn't provide answers. It's something she needs to deal with, how to handle our friends as part of the consequences. I also told her that she has until after Thanksgiving next week to decide if she wants to do reconciliation or I'm filing. I know I can follow through with this now. I also set boundaries on her showing commitment, going to MC, being transparent with her phone and laptop, etc. Anything less, and I see no other path but moving towards a divorce. Since then, she's starting to be more on the submissive end, like asking, is it okay to start MC in a couple of weeks? Or I'm willing to try. Can we start slow? I know I shouldn't be taking very much from this and let actions speak for itself. But it's a huge swing from last week and prior where everything was in her demands. No MC. I want to take our time. Nonetheless, at this point I don't think she's wholeheartedly there for working on our marriage. I'll give her this week to make a choice. Anyhow, regarding her affair, my best guess is that it has completely stopped before I confronted her. Based on phone records, etc. that said, do I still wonder since I don't see her very much? Sure, I do wonder, and sure, she could have another phone. I did snoop around on her phone a couple of weeks back and it appears that she told her 3 closest girlfriends saying it was a huge mistake, etc. Do I genuinely think she is remorseful and ashamed? Perhaps, but not enough to get back with me. As such, I think they are 2 different issues and perhaps she is already gone or almost gone with her feelings for me. Her quote from a couple of weeks back, I'm not saying I don't want to work on us, but I'm saying I'm not ready to work on us. I know many will point out that perhaps she is still involved. I don't know for sure, but I would say likelihood is small. Nonetheless, I planted a GPS tracking system into the car and a voice recorder regarding the divorce option and allowing her time to make a decision to be 100% committed to working on us or we divorce. I'll be honest with everybody here. Part of the time given to her is also now time for myself, but it wasn't originally intended that way. I originally played my cards wrong and gave her the option to decide by end of Thanksgiving. But now based on her reaction it's now making me feel like R might not be right for me either. She was in sobbing tears the night I brought up divorce, but never did she beg me back. I'm starting to feel that perhaps R is not right for either one of us anymore. I love her still, but I'm not sure this is what I want if she doesn't enthusiastically want to be with me. So, in some ways, I'm now a bit lost myself of wanting R or D. A few weeks ago, I wanted nothing more and was completely adamant that I wanted R. I think my mind just wanted something so bad and was fixated on R, but seeing her reaction now I have some doubts whether that's best for me too. She's obviously not in love with me anymore, or nearly gone. So, I've been asking myself the last couple of days, why would I want to be with somebody who's not excited to be with me? And I question if we decide on R, whether she is doing it for fear of divorce versus wanting me as her partner. I understand if the former, crap will happen again in the future. No doubt. Update. A lot has happened for me in the last 3 days. Over Thanksgiving, with my family and her family here, I exposed her regarding the affair. I told my parents about what she has done. They didn't speak to her about it, but I could tell my wife had to act differently around them in our house when they were here. Perhaps of the shame. I also told her dad yesterday. He was in shock, in disappointment. They went through a huge crying session together. However, her dad also showed some love for her, understanding that perhaps she is confused and going through some pain as well. I snooped and saw on her text messages yesterday to her friends that she is just trying to buy time to get her crap together and does not see a future for me and her. She says that she is still seeking that excitement, chemistry, connection with somebody. May not necessarily be the other man per se, but misses that excitement and feeling. She did say in her text that the other guy may not necessarily be best for her. That although she misses him specifically, she perhaps just yearns for somebody who can provide that connection, excitement for her. She did mention that she's trying to get over him, not sure if the guy dumped her, or whatever. Also, I confronted the other guy yesterday. Turns out, as everybody pointed out, that my wife has been lying about the number of times they had slept together, number of times they met up, the last time they contacted each other, etc. I told him not to contact her again. This is more for me to expose my wife directly today rather than she hear it from him. I want to call her out on this myself. I did not tell her about the confrontation yesterday, but will today when I see her in person. So, with all these new developments, yes, I'm in extreme pain because I feel that R is no longer an option, as I now discovered she doesn't even see a future with us. She wants that excitement and feeling. And most importantly, I don't see how I can ever trust her again. I am also angry that she is so ducking selfish to not even care about my well-being even as a friend, buying time to get her crap together while I'm suffering. I'm very disappointed in her. That said, what are the best logical steps for telling her that I know everything now? Should I tell her I saw her texts? I don't want our common friends to know I snooped on her phone. Is there an optimal way to tell her I confronted the other guy? What about the divorce process? I would hate to use divorce lawyers and rather settle this with a mediator or ourselves. I believe in California, all attained assets are split 50-50 since the time of marriage. I just feel that lawyers will just end up taking a huge chunk of my assets. In the meantime, while divorce is in the works, do I not give her any child support? She still has rental income from a property that contributes about 1/3 of our combined income. We are still in good terms, hanging out with family and kids. Should I be concerned that crap could flip any second? Regarding finances, her dad has lots of money, so I don't think she would wreck me of finances, and she'll likely be okay financially. But nothing she has done is rational either. So, I told her everything yesterday, that I confronted the other guy, know that she has been lying after the number of times they met, had slept together, etc. Their last contact, she reached out to him 3 weeks ago via text and a few exchanges, but apparently did not meet up. I truly believe that she doesn't see a future with him per se, but she wants that excitement and chemistry with another person. Put it this way, if this other guy was more similar to her age and could support her, I think she would have progressed further with him. He's only 26 and likely doesn't have the means to support her. After I told her all that and I can't ever trust her ever again, I told her I'm filing for a divorce. She begged and pleaded to me that she can't imagine living without me. She wouldn't let me leave the house and just begged and cried for me to stay. However, I'm thinking she is more afraid of the unknown of life without me rather than wanting me as her husband. Later that night, she asked to come over to my apartment and talk about the finances and other things. We spent most of the time talking about the relationship. She said she now realized how selfish she is. Never thought of it in my perspective and my pain, and kept apologizing. She didn't beg for a second chance per se, as I kept saying to her that I can't trust her again. Also, she said she now realizes the cost of our entire lives just flushed down the drain for a couple of months of fun wasn't worth it. Wow, this crap is just so hard to bear. Never imagined it. I planned to just move forward with the divorce paperwork, but to be honest, I still want to be with her but also understand that I can't trust her again and it just likely won't work. Maybe it's that I'm lonely now rather than wanting to be with her particularly. If stuff changes over time, then I could always retract the divorce paperwork months into it. But I don't believe that she came to a revelation in a matter of hours. If she comes back months from now and said she wants back in, then I might believe it. Or do you guys think it's just over, period? As far as moving back in, I just feel that it's too painful to be around her. I would rather do the out of sight, out of mind thing and just stay in my apartment now. I understand that there is some risk in being perceived as abandonment. However, as I researched, SIA law states that abandonment is not a key factor in determining the assets. Income split. There is a formula based on time with kids, and we have already been splitting the kids' time 50-50. I did tell her about me seeing all her texts when I confronted her yesterday about the other guy. I called her out on buying time. Her reaction was that she looked ashamed or feeling that she got busted. She tried to justify it by saying, "Yes, I'm still trying to figure out what to do with our marriage." So, at the end of the day, I told her our marriage is over for 2 reasons. 1, I can't trust her anymore. 2, you're not even in love with me, and you want that excitement. So, with these 2 reasons, how can we even stay married? Truth is, I think she's confused right now with her midlife crisis. I think part of it, yes, she does want excitement of a new relationship, reliving her 22nds, starting a new career, working out again, etc. I think she's starting to feel genuinely remorseful. She's apologized and cried so much more the last 2 days than last 2 months. But it's also become more real to her that she can lose me. That said, it doesn't fulfill what she wants in being excited about me. So I can only imagine that further down the line another affair would happen again. The only exception is that perhaps she will recognize this once she is over her midlife crisis. I do plan to continue with the divorce paperwork. I am continuing with the divorce. We'll be meeting with some folks tomorrow for processing and filing. I'm taking some of your advice here and moving forward with it. Should she show complete remorse by actions during the processing period and a committed desire for reconciliation in the next few months, then I will figure it out as we go regarding reconciliation. Being true to myself, as much as I'm feeling betrayed and hurt and know that I must move forward with the divorce, I will say that I also find it hard to completely shut that door on saving our marriage. Meanwhile, I am continuing with my 180 as well to protect myself and detach. Separately, I'm getting apologetic texts from her such as the below. I'm not sure what to make of it. I truly am sorry, I want you to know that. And more than ever I know I made the biggest mistake of my life. And if there is any shred of hope that I can regain your respect and trust, I will try, even if it doesn't necessarily mean another chance. Right now, I just want to help ease your pain and devastation. I saw that she deactivated her Facebook account as well. I did not ask her to do that. She did it on her own and said it had been a distraction and she need to focus on other things now. And that she thought I would be happier that she deleted the account. She also says she was just beginning to appreciate what she had, rather than what she didn't have. I guess maybe having all that family time with relatives, etc. during Thanksgiving. And just when she started seeing the light, she said she now sees her whole world crumbling down. I also exposed her to family and her closest friends that didn't know the affair over this past weekend as well. She also invited her mom over for this weekend as she is prepared to tell her mom about our situation and her divorce. I'm sure she will admit to the affair, but not sure if she will try to justify it by saying, feeling bored, having chemistry, connection issues, etc. Anyhow, do I believe her finally being remorseful? Maybe some of it, but not entirely convinced. Regardless, I'm moving forward with divorce process and 180 and will let her actions speak for themselves in the next few months. I see her trying a little here and there, but don't think she especially wants us back together. I moved forward with filing the divorce paperwork last Thursday. Since I fully exposed her 8 days ago, I can tell she seems to be remorseful. Or at least more than I've ever seen her. She has apologized time and time again, crying quite a lot when we're together over the last week. She has also reached out to her mom and some close friends to admit to them about her affair. Not sure if she twisted it to justify her reasons for affair, but I know she did tell them. I told her last week that I've filed for divorce for 2 reasons, that I don't know if I can trust her again, and also if she is looking for butterflies and passion. And if I can't give that to her, then I'm moving forward with my life. The thing is, I truly think she's remorseful, but I doubt she is committed to the marriage, as she first said she was when I exposed her and told her I'm filing for divorce. I think it's pretty clear. If she is committed, I think she would have told me to move back into the house, started wearing her wedding ring again, set up our couples counseling, and shared all of her passwords and accounts. She hasn't done any of that. I understand actions speak louder than words. I've said this many times, I just find it so hard to live without her. And I'm not sure if it's just because I find it hard without her or if it's difficult not being with somebody. It's been 8 years of marriage and us being together for 11 years. It's so hard to adjust to a single life, especially with kids. I know what I need to do: 180, detach, protect myself, etc. But man, this is just much harder than I would have ever imagined. I'm mentally conflicted. So, my wife and I chatted yesterday. Recall I filed for divorce last Thursday, but she hasn't been formally served yet as we're waiting for the paperwork. Since last week, she has said she's committed to earning back the trust and working on the marriage. Again, I understand actions speak louder than words. Her side of story from yesterday morning: she feels that since I'm still progressing with the divorce, and was continuing this week to separate finances, as we agreed to certain terms, me pushing to sell the house, etc. How can we honestly work on our marriage if all my actions are pushing towards a divorce? In other words, she is saying how can she have the right frame of mind to even want to earn the trust and work on the marriage when I'm pushing the divorce along? Her mind would just assume that the marriage is over since my actions indicate that. This was all before my previous post and getting all of your feedback from yesterday. So last night we chatted again, and per some of your advice yesterday I told her that if she is fully committed, she needs to show it by actions, and here are some things that we need to do. Also, I said it's not guaranteed it'll work out and if I could trust her again, but I'm willing to try to see how it'll work. In the meantime, I will postpone the divorce provided that she meets these asks. 1. Go to counseling. I know she was always against counseling prior to full-on exposure and confrontation of the OM. She mentioned to me last week that part of why she didn't want counseling before was because there were still some lies that she was afraid would come out, or she would have to continue to conceal if we went to counseling. However, now that everything is on the table, she is more receptive to going to focus on us, rather than concealing the whole story. She reiterated this last night and we therefore agreed to start counseling soon. 2. I told her I will be moving back into the house. She said it makes sense to if we are really going to work on reconciliation and understand if this works for both of us. The latter part of that statement is telling. So, in some ways, despite her infidelity, I think she is still a bit hesitant for us to get back together, just as much as I am to get back together to trust her. She said her affair was completely wrong, but there were issues prior to the affair in our marriage that led her astray. I agree with that. I am hoping counseling would help with that. To be honest, part of why I haven't moved back into the house in the last 1 to 2 months was for myself. It was so hard and painful to be around her and doing the 180. Yeah, she probably didn't want me there either prior to full-on exposure or confrontation of OM, but neither did I want to be there. 3. I asked her to share passwords on phone and computer. This is where she started going on the offense to say that yes, I could see her phone and laptop together, but not behind her back. She said she felt violated that I also broke her trust in going into her phone, and that some of her friends now feel violated because I know some of their personal thoughts. I think we all know and agree that if she didn't duck up and cheat and violated my trust, I wouldn't need to go into her phone. I get that. This part didn't sit well with me. But I don't think I could live like that either if I was the WS, for example. If I was the one that got caught cheating, I would be begging and pleading to my wife and doing everything to try to earn back her trust. But I would not be comfortable in sharing my emails, phone, etc. with her, even if I had absolutely nothing to hide. How can one live like that? So, given all this, I'm mentally conflicted. I'm only getting a lukewarm feeling that she wants to put our marriage as top priority. And for myself, because of that reaction, I'm starting to feel that this marriage might not work in the long haul. That said, I'm hopeful that counseling could help us resolve some of our issues, both for her and my trust issues given the affair. For myself, I think I need to know that I've tried everything to save this marriage, including going to counseling and giving her a second chance before closing the door on our marriage. This is for me. I do understand that divorce may be inevitable, given her lukewarm desire to reconcile. It seems she may have already checked out of the marriage even before the affair. I'm wondering though, does counseling help in changing some of this? And if I change myself with more alpha traits, I already have too much beta traits. Would that ever reverse a woman that was checked out? I also understand that by doing this, I could be merely prolonging the inevitable and may go through more prolonged pain and delayed healing. Hence, I'm so confused and conflicted but feel that I need to give her another chance to save our family. More than anything for myself. As far as I know, since the divorce paperwork has been filed, and me listing the date of separation as something recent, I have until 3 years to finalize the paperwork, and the 10-year mark will not be an issue since it's already been filed. I will be moving home tomorrow or Friday as my schedule does not permit me to until then. Do I want reconciliation? I'm confused. I think I'm so fixated on keeping our family together that I'm not sure if it's the family I want that keeps me trying, or her marriage itself. And also, I keep going back and forth. Take 2 days ago for instance. I really wanted to try and understand that I've done everything I can to save the marriage. I still feel this way at most moments. But today, all I feel is anger and disgust towards her that I don't even want to move home and be around her. Everybody here has encouraged me to move home. What is the main reason for this? If this is for financial reasons, I've already laid out all the terms with her and the house will be split accordingly, without fear of abandonment. Or is it to be there to watch her actions towards me, and to understand if she is still cheating? The latter I highly doubt, although I question if somebody else comes along in the future if she would entertain. Regarding the open phone and password policy, I understand, but I personally am not a believer in it myself. I have nothing to hide, but I would never want my wife, even before all this affair stuff, to go through my private conversations with my friends, etc. just a bit intrusive to me, and I personally can't live with it either. But I hear what everybody is saying. Trust was breached. How can you know my wife isn't cheating again? Completely agree with this argument as well. I have not reported the basketball coach. Yet, I've been on the fence with this due to the fact that I feel the mothers of this basketball camp are all adults and they should make their own decisions whether they have an affair or not. It's not like they are children being taken advantage of. That said, I do hear what folks are saying about the fact that it's a children environment. But my argument is adults are adults. There is some part of me that does want to make the OM's life a bit more difficult and miserable. He is not married and don't know if he even has a girlfriend. If I report to the camp director, I'm wondering what the basketball camp director would do. They would say that what their coach does in their own time is their business. It's not a legal crime that he committed. The other man also has another coaching job at a high school. Should I contact them as well, even though the incidents happened at his other job, basketball camp, and not the high school? If I choose to move forward with this, what is the best way to report this with what line of communication? Threat to expose this via social media and other parents if he's not fired. Few days later, I reported the coach to the owners of the basketball camp. The owners said they will take action and will dismiss the coach. Should I tell my wife? Regardless of the goal of R or D. I think if it's D, no reason to hold back. Good idea to tell her if R is a possibility. I genuinely believe the affair has been over for 3 months now. A day later, they dismissed and fired the coach yesterday. I have not said a word to my wife about this. Over the last week, my wife and I have spent a lot more time together. After she said she is committed to our marriage and I want to play it by ear for 1 month at a time to let her actions do the talking. I am still skeptical and have my guard up but will reevaluate on a monthly basis. That said, previously she was never genuinely willing to go to counseling, but this last week she seemed to be slightly hopeful. Perhaps as a last-ditch effort, to go to our first counseling session on Thursday. Also, I could tell that she's trying a little bit harder, like initiating holding my hand, for the first time in months. And she also initiated as well. Also for the first time in months. Despite all of this, I still sense some awkwardness between the two of us. For me, I still go through moments with her where I am angry just looking at her and thinking about the pain she caused me. For her, I could tell she's hesitant about our. I asked her a few days ago why she is hesitant. She said she is still resentful that I focused on my work over family over the last 2 years and was never attentive to her very much as well. She acknowledged that I'm completely different now but still have concerns about whether my changes are just temporary. Personally, I also think she's trying to figure out whether there is anything left for being in love with me. For folks that have been a betrayed spouse and worked on are these feelings normal? For both of us. Also, for wayward spouses that have once fell out of love, I love you but not in love with you. Can the in-love feelings resurface ever again? To be honest, I'm not implying R is definitely something I want. I'm just letting this play out, 1 month at a time by judging her actions. I'm lost myself and am going through roller coaster of understanding what I want. Nonetheless, I do feel a lot more detached from her compared to 2 weeks ago and prior. She's brought up issues about me being a husband and father over the last year or two. However, I've always felt that my work manager would be hard on me if I took time off from work, especially with them knowing my wife is a stay-at-home mom. She's also complained that I get home after the family dinner, rather than taking a stand with work and leave earlier to make it home for dinner. But shoot, I was doing it to support the family so we can do nice things. We were clear on this mutual partnership when she quit her job 2 years ago. Somehow the expectations changed over time. I do admit when I do get home, I wasn't very attentive to her or the kids, because I was mentally drained from work throughout the day. I wasn't mean to them, but when they would speak to me, I'm spacing out due to a long day at work. However, on weekends I would always take the kids out to play, be there for them, attend all their sports games, etc. I was never out there consistently on boys' nights, partying, going out, doing my own things away from family, etc. None of that. So yes, in my mind I was a good husband and father but perhaps could have addressed the attention to the family a bit more. Nonetheless, I think we all agree that it doesn't give her any right to go out and cheat, especially when she never sat us down to chat about the severity of her feelings or offered MC for us to resolve and talk about. There are a few reasons why I'm still on this path, rather than complete break off. But whatever, divorce paperwork is already in progress. 1. I feel that I need to know for myself that I've given every last shot in saving our family. I still love her, but I'm also disgusted with her as well. As I said, if I don't feel any progress in 1 month's time, I am much more prepared and willing to walk away than I was before. 2. As much as I've portrayed above that she is evaluating our situation, believe me, I'm evaluating it as well objectively. Perhaps I'm looking to understand if she is indeed fully committed by me watching her actions. I don't know, I just need to know. 3. We've never been to MC before and I want us to attend together tomorrow for guidance on whether we would be able to work things out. It goes back to number 1, being able to live with myself that I gave everything to save the marriage. If she walks or I walk weeks or months from now, I at least know I have done everything I can. I guess I'm questioning myself whether or not the timing of all this is optimal. In other words, perhaps we should forget MC for now, detach. 180, let D run its course. And if she genuinely is committed to the marriage at a later time, and if R is still what I want at that point in time, then go to MC. Then start talking about R. We spent some time alone without the kids on a 2-day getaway after Christmas. I think we both felt good about each other. I set this up as I wanted to see if we can still rekindle some spark. She thought it was a great idea too. We had a great time. She initiated affectionate actions like hand-holding, cuddling, etc. We had slept together on both nights and we were both into it. However, since we have gotten back to our day-to-day lives with our kids, etc., it seemed to be back to non-physical, daily hustle and bustle with kids, etc. We've spent so much time together the last 2 weeks that perhaps we have overloaded each other. For example, I've been feeling very resentful over the last few days after we came back from our trip. She's not as affectionate. I'm almost 100% certain the affair is over. But as I stated previously, I still question whether she is excited to be with me. I'm wondering if this has to do with the day-to-day motherhood life, and that she wants excitement on day-to-day basis. Goes back to me questioning whether she is going through midlife crisis. With that, I've stated before that I'm just taking this month by month to let things play out and see how I feel about things. I would say that over the last week, I felt like D is inevitable if things continue like they have over this last week. As she shows less affection, compared to our getaway, I'm starting to feel less attractive to her and more resentful about her affair. On the flip side, I do think things are better now than they were 1 month ago. In terms of our interaction, our willingness to work things out, etc. But things just aren't normal yet and perhaps it takes time. I'm not sure. My feelings. I feel resentful and angry because she hasn't given everything I want or need for reconciliation. However, she's shown some willingness to try to reconcile versus 1 month ago. At this point, I'm still confused, but I can say I'm much more willing to let go of this marriage than I did several weeks ago. And that's mostly because if she can't be excited about being with me, then I should move on and avoid her being in another affair in the future. I would say back in November I was certain I myself wanted R, but given her actions that she's not 100% all in. I'm not certain I want R anymore. My resentment is growing and I plan to let it all out in our MC session this Thursday, probably because I'm starting to give up. So, we went to our second counseling session yesterday. I learned a lot. I talked about our communication, that I find it sad that I can't have a conversation with my wife outside of the session due to the fact that she often escalates discussions to the point of screaming and just walking away. But this has always been the case, even pre-affair when we have arguments. We don't have these arguments very often, but when we talk about something serious like our relationship, it often escalates to that. I acknowledged her trying a bit more, being more patient, showing some affection to me at times, bonding, listening more during our weekend getaway. However, I did tell her after we got back from our weekend getaway, she wasn't trying as hard versus during the getaway, and that wasn't enough for me. I told her honestly that it made me feel resentful that she sort of stopped trying after that weekend. She also declined bonding when I attempted after we got back. I told her how she could decline it to me but easily throw herself at another man and that this will forever be an issue whenever she declines it. She agrees that it's going to be a big problem in future when she declines. She herself said that after spending so much time together over the last 2 weeks, she felt a bit overwhelmed with my presence, and when we got back from our getaway it was that point where she wanted some more space. She said she wasn't disgusted by me or wanted to run away from me, but she felt me being around her for that long was crossing her independence, that she was used to being alone with the kids and didn't need to ask me where we are going for dinner. Can she go here or there? Etc. Anyhow, long story short, the fact that she still feels like she doesn't want me around 24/7 right now means it's silly to even try to reconcile. Am I right? And that was what I really wanted out of my counseling session yesterday. I was already thinking of quitting on trying for reconciliation due to my recent feelings and increased resentment, but I think her real feelings tipped me over to think this is a fake reconciliation. As you guys have pointed out, right? So, at the end of the session, I told her let's just do our own thing and move on with our lives, and that I don't want anybody to dictate my happiness. I told her that my resentment is too strong right now, and I was willing to try to give us an opportunity to save our family if she was really trying to R. But it's obvious her actions demonstrate she's not wholeheartedly there. Divorce papers have already been filed last month, but now following through with it in the process seems inevitable. I was originally thinking we see if R makes sense while it's sitting in the courts. Anyhow, it's been hard emotionally and I realize I have to keep myself busy when kids are in her custody. But at least I feel that I know where our future stands and I'm not in limbo. Still very difficult, nonetheless. There is some part of me that still wants her back maybe in the future. But definitely not now given where her head is at and how I'm resentful for her lack of trying harder. She wasn't all that surprised by my actions. During the session when we talked about our communication, my trust in her, and my expectations of her and her not be able to fulfill them, I think we both sensed there was a huge disconnect in expectations and patience, like that had already set up the stage for me deciding to just move on separately. So she wasn't that surprised. I think I surprised her a bit when after the decision she said perhaps when we have our own time with the kids, that it's okay if I ask to join them for dinner and she hopes she can also ask to join us for dinner. I declined and said no. I said outside of common events for our kids, let's just live our own lives. I know that folks go through emotional roller coasters, but this is indeed the end of my drama. My comment: what do you guys think of this long series? A bit long, but the ending is quite interesting. You agree? Comment down below, sub and bell, and let me grab a quick nap after